straighten up a bit. It is Friday. I've posted my workout of the morning. I did burpee Maddie's hard target routine, but with Navy SEALs. Not fun, guys. Not fun at all. Um, I mostly held 8 reps throughout. 1 minute, I only got 7 towards the end there, and then back up to 8, slightly over the time limit I finished. But I'm going to count it. My video, my channel, so I get to count it. Derek, good morning. How are you? Um, Nice to see you all the way from California. I was just talking briefly about Burpee Maddie's routine, hard target. I did the Navy SEALs version today. So 1 minute on, as many as you can get, and then a minute's rest. I throw in just a rep of pull-ups because it helps my shoulders, keeps them loose, keeps them limber. And then you start your count from wherever you left off. It was not fun, not in the least. But I'm always happy to get it done. I'm always happy to get one of Burpee Maddie's routines done because I know I've accomplished something. I know that I'm leaving things on the burpee mat. I'm walking away successful, getting done what needs to be done. The other day I talked about Mike Mentzer, the old bodybuilder from the 80s, 70s, and 80s, the heavy duty method. 1 set. No, it did not look fun at all. Probably judging by the expression on my face, it looked almost like torture. Mike Mentzer had said way long ago that training is like hitting a nail into the board. Once it's in there, there's no sense hitting it over and over and over again. Now, of course, he meant 1 set to complete failure, forced reps, negatives, the whole gambit, and then walking away from it. He wasn't thinking in terms of burpees. However, Burpee Maddie's routine is hitting the nail on the board. You put in that hard 20 minutes, sometimes up to 30 minutes, and you're done. What else do you need to add? There's a discussion on whether or not, I know Lee Hazard and Max Edward traded some videos. Are squats necessary in a burpees routine? My answer is no, but they're good. We should do squats rather for mobility, mainly for mobility. We lose that ability to get down on the floor and get back up. Squats, Turkish get-ups, burpees. These are functional exercises in the true sense of they're going to serve a purpose for us later in life. To be able to explode from the ground back up, to be able to squat fully down into a deep, deep position and hold it and get back up, to lay on our back and get back up with a certain degree of strength and poise and grace. Important things to have in your aging arsenal. And if there's one thing I know, it's aging, and I'm learning more about it every single day. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. Overall, my joints feel pretty good. I probably have arthritis in one of my knees. I probably have arthritis in my back. I definitely have arthritis in my jaw. Doctor's already said that's what you got. That was Lee Hazard's point. And as I replied on Max's thread on his video, that I see both sides and I agree with both sides. Of course, it all depends on, what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Do we need, for me, I haven't been doing as many squats as I usually do in my workouts and my videos, on the mixed days at least, because I've been doing probably close to 30 a day of the Qigong wall squats. as a back um, prehab and rehab routine, and it's noticeably serving me well. And so, yeah, I agree. They're goal based. If your goal is to be fit, um, not you're not looking for um, super leg development or whatever. I know Pavel, uh, the kettlebell guru, uh, does very few squats. He will do some goblet squats for mobility. He does deadlifts, um, but his most of his programs you'll find very little leg uh, movement. But he believes that swings have you covered. Swings, get ups. I mean, get ups is deadlifts are sorry, get ups and deadlifts. I've read that from the beginning of the movement all the way to the end, every single muscle, from the toes to the muscles that keep the hair follicles in place, um, have been reached that capacity of firing. You fired every single muscle. Anyone who's done either a high rep set of deadlifts or a max attempted deadlifts will definitely testify that that is most likely true. Get ups are about a full body movement as you can get. Um, so, yep, I believe get ups are squats, legs on roids. You're basically doing a form, you're doing a lunge, and a lunge is just technically squat in a different plane of motion. Um, hard to see it otherwise when you analyze the movement. So, do you need to do squats? No. Should you do squats? Yes. That's my answer, threading the line right down the middle between Max Edwards and Lee Hazard. You could be perfectly fit if you didn't do squats. You would be better served doing squats. You'll be more mobile. Your overall strength will be better. You will work aspects of the body that don't get worked in any other way. The best abs I've ever had in my life, two things: loaded carries, farmer walks, overhead walks, waiter's walk, rack walk, and heavy squats, heavy deadlifts. No other direct ab workout, no direct ab workout, just those. And a proper diet, and my abs were looking good. Of course, it also helps to be in your 30s. In your 30s and your 20s, you got to work pretty hard not to have your abs look good if you're training, at least that's where it seemed to me. Now my abs, I'm lucky that I don't have the typical 58-year-old looking abs, even in shape. There's a lot to be said for one of the things that worried me years ago was having bulked up heavily, so hitting 220 pounds in order to get a bigger bench press. It was not my wisest training decision, because I ended up benching 340 pounds thereabouts at 220. Not a very good bench, especially as I wanted to compete, and realizing that I was just going to be middle of the pack, which is okay, but it's not okay to put your health at risk to be middle of the pack. It just doesn't make sense. I know the other day, your Sunday group, Derek, you were talking about supplements and using steroids. Vinny was there, and strong opinions on it. I don't have strong opinions other than if you're set to compete, if you want to be the best, and you're willing to take that risk, that chance, knowing that everyone else does it and that you're competing with your peers, it's your decision. Do what you think is best. If, however, you're going to be average no matter what you do, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with being average. And by average, I mean averagely strong for what you're doing. 340-pound bench press, on the street is pretty strong. In some gyms, it's not even average, it's below average. It would be senseless for me to take steroids so I could bench 400 pounds. It was senseless for me to bulk up to 220 pounds so I could bench 340. Had a decent squat. I squatted 420. I had a decent deadlift. Deadlift at 440. None of that was very good in the big picture. But I was strong. I was fit. As I mentioned the other day, I looked really good in a sweatshirt. Leaves a sweatshirt, and I looked like a bulky guy. Much better when I dropped the weight. When I started getting more serious training for martial arts, and I realized that I'd much rather be hit by a 150-pound guy than a 200-plus-pound guy. My thinking then, having been hit by 150-pound guys, it's still more fun than being hit by a 220-pound guy. So the point I'm making, I guess, is that throughout my training life, I have had faulty logic. And hopefully I make better decisions now. At 58, I could be suffering the results of bulking up like that and holding it for a long time. A lot of saggy skin. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Through good diet, training hard, good genes, God bless both my parents. My dad living to be 93, and my mother making it in the 80s. She passed away due to complications of Alzheimer's. The doctor said physically she could have lasted another 15 years. So gene-wise, body-wise, I picked some pretty decent parents overall. They could have been taller. They could have given me some basketball skills. They could have been maybe genetically stronger, making me a better bench presser, maybe giving me shorter T-Rex arms. But overall, I've done pretty well. I've run 100 miles in races. I've benched over 300 pounds. I've done 10-minute kettlebell sets with two 32-kilogram kettlebells. I've competed in martial art events. I've run marathons. That's not a bad career for just the guy, Yeah, Derek, it's your bench is an interesting storyline to follow. The progress that you're making, the dedication, I'm very analytical. Is this working? Will this work? You listen to your coaches. That's like a coach's dream, someone who follows their program. I'm really excited to see where you might end up and what your goals are. I know you were shooting for the 225. I can easily see you, and with your dedication, with your training, and 2 years' time, I see no reason why you couldn't hit 250. You have longer arms, so you're pushing that weight farther than I did. I don't have the great bencher's T-Rex arms, but it is a shorter range of motion for me. So I'd really be interested to see if that's one of your long-term goals. If it isn't, I'd be interested to hear what they might be. But yeah, I think in not too many more months, I think you're going to be hitting 225. It's been a while since I've seen you max, but the weight that you're pushing and the speed in which it's going up shows me that capability is just within reach, like any time. So that's how I feel like with hitting 256 counts. I haven't yet, but on any given day, I feel like I could. It would help to take a day off. But I don't want 250 reps for the sake of taking a day off. Just not my plan. 250, 260, I think are definite. um, and your form is just better and better. And like I said, the rep speed every time I see it is just outstanding. You're you got a decent pause. You're not doing the competition pause, but you're not in competition. Uh, but you're touching, and you're back up smooth. Um, you got that plane of motion going just right. When it clicks, it clicks. That's always happy to feel. Um, yeah, that's the way I feel. I mentioned before that my training is the goal, so I reach it every single day. Um, when you have sort of a Taoist approach, when you have the goal of training every day, you've reached your dream. I'm doing what I love to do. So I tell people I'm not the most dedicated person in the world. I'm actually sort of selfish and um, driven by my own sense of pleasure. Uh, I don't know if Moko is listening or not. She would probably be saying that's not true. But what I mean to say is that um, uh, I'm not driven to do things that I don't particularly enjoy or like in that bigger picture. I enjoy torturing myself with burpees, which is an odd thing to enjoy, but I do. So I show up every day and I do it. I enjoy meditating more so. Um, I enjoy the results that unfold from my time in meditation. Um, I am, I've never been, seriously, I've never been a selfish person. Uh, I've always been on the kind side. However, it's only deepened, it's only gotten better. Um, to live a life with compassion and empathy is the only way to live life, and to do things that deepen that sense when I can extend myself to someone just a little bit more, I know that I am living a life of purpose. Um, and that applies to, again, what I'm doing with burpees, what I'm doing with um, all the other stuff I do. I enjoy being a vegan. Um, if someone were to tell me that there's scientific proof now that being a vegan and you're going to live 10 years less, I would be a vegan because I'm an ethical vegan. Um, and I do it for the sake of, when I was younger, I worked in a veal farm. When I was younger, I did a little bit of hunting. Um, and I know suffering up close in that regard, and I don't want to participate in any way whatsoever. I am not against hunting. I'm not against anyone else eating meat, but my own ethical choices, I want to get out of that wheel, that cycle of suffering, and get on the wheel of suffering of burpees. I want to choose my suffering, be in charge of my suffering. Um, so I think that's why when I look at everyone's channel, um, I do see dedication, I do see perseverance, but I also, above all, I see a sense of joy that these are the people who are doing exactly what they love to do in that very moment. If I look at your group, Derek, um, I see a lot of hard work. I see a lot of sweat. I see a lot of pain. I see a fair degree of suffering. And yet I see a whole lot of joy that's overriding everything else. These people are here for a reason. Um, I'm missing that last part. I don't quite get the one louder a vegan. Well, yeah, vegan versus vegetarian. Um, had a conversation with that with Barefoot Burpees, who was a vegetarian, 4 years a vegan. He couldn't quite make it work for him physically, so he added in eggs, and he's been nutritiously happy ever since. Um, that's a small concession for the sake of health, um, and yet you are getting all the benefits of a kinder, gentler diet. Um, I always tell people go on a plant-based diet. If that includes meat, it includes meat. Um, but the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the healthier you're going to be. the better for the planet, better for animals, better for you. Um, and, it used to be when you looked at a plate 50 years ago, you had a serving of meat, you had a big serving of vegetables, you had, fruit, maybe in the form of pie or something for dessert, or maybe just a mixed bowl of berries. Um, the diet was simpler. I always go back to Michael Pollan and his book, uh, Food Rules, although I think it was first in his book on the omnivore's dilemma, when he said, um, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Pretty simple. 3 rules right there. Um, yeah, you know, that's the way to go, Derek. It's it's nothing complicated. You eat fruits, berries. Dan John, the fruit and berry, um, nut, berry, meat diet. Um, Now, the cleaner the meat, the better, in my opinion. If you can get it organic, if you can get more and more uh, local farms are coming back, which is always good, in my opinion. It brings us back to the days when we were um, responsible for the food that we ate and the food that we produced. And we didn't just leave it up to agribusinesses who are pumping our foods with chemicals and pesticides and insecticides and steroids, uh, breeding a ground for the next super virus to sweep through that we have no defense for. Um, so, vegetarian, vegan, plant based, it's all just another term of being healthy, responsible, um, a good way to go through life, a kinder way to go through life. Um, I was talking about Michael Pollan's three rules: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Um, Eat food sounds like a pretty simple rule, and it is, except the vast majority of what we eat, the vast majority of what's in our freezer, let alone a refrigerator, isn't really food. It's a food product, food like stuff. Um, One of the sub rules that he has is if you can't pronounce an ingredient, if it has more than 5 ingredients, if your grandmother, great grandmother wouldn't recognize this as food or an ingredient, if it comes in a box, um, then it's not really food. Now, when I say ingredient, I don't mean adding in salt. I don't mean adding in, you know, things within a recipe. I'm talking about when you look at that long thing, and if it says in the ingredients may contain, if you don't know what's in it, I'm certainly not going to eat it. I'm not going to give it a shot and say, well, it might contain it. Then again, it might not. It might be perfectly safe. I might get heart disease. I might get cancer. But according to the box, I might not too. Perfectly fine. Um, Eat food, a simple rule. We don't do it though. So that's key, Derek, right there, that you're eating clean meat. Um, I, for me, I come from a hunting family for generations. My grandfather was a forest ranger. He was a bear hunter. He was state renowned as a great hunter. Both sides of my family, actually. My father was a hunter until he came back from World War II, and it was just not for him any longer. But the let's see, last part of what you're saying. That is, and that's another thing. That's almost like you're taking the Native American approach that something has sacrificed for you to continue being, and that is an honor. It's a privilege. If you're taking something from a wrapper that's been in your freezer for a month, chances are you might not hold on to that awareness. That's something that you have the privilege of ingesting something that gave its life for you to continue being. Um, that's why I always saying, and to tie that back to my family being hunters, I'd much rather someone hunt their food than get it from an agribusiness or get it from, because again, it's not really food. The ground beef that you get in a store is not from one cow, if it's even from a cow. Um, it is from multiple cows, multiple sources. Um, and who knows? And that's the thing, who knows what goes on in those conditions that if you saw, you would probably, that's why Paul McCartney said, and again, this isn't a vegan rant at all. This is a health rant. Um, if slaughterhouses had glass walls, everyone would be plant-based. I think he said vegetarian, but um, the point being, not just the suffering of the animal, um, because collectively we all agree not to talk about that. You don't show up on Sunday dinner and talk about the suffering of the animal that's on your plate right now, because no one would want to eat. It's discouraged for a good reason. However, to brush it under the rug and allow the suffering is also, um, to me, is actually a sin. As Derek says, something, there was a sacrifice that was made. Sacred life. If you truly believe that life feeds on life, then some type of pause, some type of presence, some type of acknowledgement that something was given, intimately so. Life for you. And we bow our heads and we take a breath, we do whatever. But more, we try to be kind, not just to the animals that are being sacrificed for our well being, but for the world that produces it, for the people who are doing that tough job. You know, that goes back to one of my favorite one of my favorite things to talk about, the weird, that web, that web of existence. There is no meat without the farmer. There's no farm without the help, farm hands. There's no supermarket without the truck drivers. Everyone is intimately involved in the production of what you have on your plate. Make it as clean and as blessed and inspired as possible. There's my food philosophy right there in a nutshell. Be aware, be thoughtful, be mindful, be compassionate, be empathetic for what you're eating. And then that goes out. That's that web. That's the weird spreading out from there, touching the truck drivers, touching the produce pickers, touching the water, the river, everything that provides the needs to bring that food to the plate. If you are truly, truly mindful, when you eat an apple, you taste exactly, be grateful. The only prayer, I forget who it was who said this, I think it might have been Meister Eckhart. If the only prayer we ever said was thank you, that would be enough. To say thank you acknowledges all that's been given, the potentiality of what can be given, the potentiality of what we have. If we even say thank you before we have it, what we're saying to the universe is, I am ready to receive. And so we do. There's the key for manifestation. That's the secret before the secret. Know that you have. So Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen master, would say that, to eat an apple mindfully and you taste the apple tree, you taste the clouds, you taste the rain that has nourished it, you taste the earth, the roots from the tree, you taste the life of the hand that picked the apple and placed it in a basket, you taste the air as it traveled from tree to produce stand or supermarket. You taste everything within that web within the weird of existence to bring that apple to your hands. That's the essence of mindfulness. Um, it's a pretty remarkable situation to be in, and that's our situation right now. We don't have to do anything to be here. How's that for a miracle? We are here, blessed. Not just blessed because we live in America, which is a great land of ease, even in the worst conditions. We can make it better. Um, some people might rightly guess that I have a somewhat liberal point of view. I do, but I'm not going to say that because of political beliefs. I'm going to say that because I believe that we have the capability of feeding every single child in the country, in the world. We have the capability of providing health care for every. You shouldn't have to even work for health care, in my opinion, because if you're sick, you are in need, and my duty is to take care of someone in need. My sacred duty, my privilege is to take care of someone. That's not a liberal view. It's not a conservative view. We could say it's a Christian view because it is, but we can also say it's a Buddhist view because it is. We could say that it is basically just the view of being human. And as was it Kierkegaard who said, nothing human is foreign to me, meaning your suffering is mine. As Jesus said, the least among you. Who does that leave off? You know, that go back to the Beatitudes, Sermon of the Mount, and that's the essence of Christianity. Very simple views put out there of taking care of everyone. It doesn't say taking care of people who live in my county because they benefit from my taxes. It doesn't say taking care of people in my state, in my country, in my hemisphere. Taking care of everyone. So, liberal, conservative, those are just words. It's a story that we tell. You look in the heart, deeply so, in the most conservative person in the world, and you are going to see pure, blissful essence of humanity shining through. You look into the eyes of the most hardcore, sign-waving liberal, and you're going to see the pure essence of humanity shining through. When that, namaste, there you go. That's the essence of namaste. That's what namaste means. The light within me recognizes and salutes the light within you. That's what we say to each other when we're doing at the end of our burpee channel or beginning when we're doing our workout. Salute. The effort that I'm doing now salutes the effort that you are going to do or that you have done. It's why, spending a few months watching burpee videos, which could be considered a very odd thing to do. But I thought, this is my community. These are the people that I want to talk to. This is a video that I want to put up of me doing what they're doing because namaste. The effort, the suffering, the sweat, the tears, the hard work that I'm doing now salutes and recognizes that same effort that you guys are doing. What a wonderful community. I don't know the politics of anyone here. I don't care about the politics of everyone here because, hey, Barefoot Burpees, we were talking about you and diet. I was mentioning the eggs and the decisions that we all make health-wise, but still doing the best that we can to protect and serve the planet that we're on. So, yeah, there you have that wavelength that I usually just a week or so of doing these live talks, and I usually read from my blog and I go off on all kinds of different things. But you definitely brought a channeled energy to help me focus on these important things that we're talking about. Not just diet, but training, burpees, everything, the whole regard. let's see, 3 or 4 eggs every morning. And, you know, honestly, because like you said, you're largely, other than that, you're plant based. Um, if it gives you the nutrients that you need to do the things that you love to do, then how can we make that wrong? You know, that's what we need. I had mentioned to Mocha that, if I felt, um, if I felt that that was going to take me up a notch training wise, if I needed it during ultra running, I most certainly would do something along those lines. If I had to hunt, um, if I ever needed to eat meat, I think the only way I would eat it would either, I could say raise it myself, but honestly, I don't think I have the heart to destroy something that I raised, even with the best intentions. Um, I could probably hunt. I could maybe fish. Um, I'd rather do that than rely on an agribusiness, put that responsibility of um, taking that life on someone else for my benefit. I don't think I could do that to another person. Um, if I had to eat meat, I would go out and I would get meat. Um, but if you, I generally avoid honey too. When I was having issue with my esophagus, which is due to actually arthritis and a misaligned jaw, um, a little bit of honey in my tea uh, helped quite a bit, but I ended up stopping that as well. Uh, for me, it's been about 14 years of, aside from that month or so of using honey, it's been vegan all the way from uh, my first 50K all the way through 100-mile races, relying largely on bananas, uh, which I still do. When I started being a vegan, it was largely a fruitarian. Um, I came from a heavy meat eating background, not liking vegetables, liking fruit, but not a whole lot of vegetables. So for me, it was a drastic change, but it was a change of um, ethics, where, as I mentioned to Derek earlier, that um, having seen the cycle of suffering that goes on in the agribusinesses, I knew that I had to remove myself from it any way that I could. So when you when it's time to step off the wheel, step off the wheel. Don't hesitate. Don't take baby steps. Don't put your toe in the water and see how it feels. When there's time for a paradigm shift, then you shift, you jump. Um, I think that you're right, BB. That the as my friend who keeps chickens, for him they're pets, for him and his wife. Yet they will use the unfertilized eggs. Um, goat, I think goat milk, goat products are healthier, in my opinion, than cow. Easier to digest at the very least, I think. I also like goats, so I would definitely have goats around, even just as companions. Um, my friend loves his chickens. They are family members. They come running up to him. Absolutely loves them. Um, Goats, I'm particularly fond of. I like pigs. I love cows. It was actually seeing a cow get kicked by a farmer that made me decide at that moment that I was a vegan. Um, I didn't know that about the milking goats. Um, they they seem to be such curious animals. Um, I can't see how you wouldn't love a goat. My the walks that I do every morning, and I wrote about sunrise walks, have become a shamanic journey for me. Um, Everything, life itself, is speaking to me in every conceivable way. The animals that I see, the insects that I see. I wrote about an interaction with a slug, which seems to be a hard thing to interact with. However, again, as Thich Nhat Hanh says, if you're mindful, you're interacting with everything. Everything responds because all we have is response, 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 response. Um, yeah, how we treat commercial cows is just, it's a mystery how you look into the soulful eyes of a cow. And I did when I worked in a veal farm, and I still did it. Um, to me, whatever versions of karma that you believe in, I have a very heavy karmic debt that I'm happily paying now by being a vegan. Um, but cows just have this soulful presence about them, not harming anything. I guess there's a chance that you could be killed by a cow, that you could be stalked in the wild by a cow. There's a chance anything might happen. But as far as gentleness, as far as the uh, just that sheer presence of joy, it's hard to beat a cow. I've had chickens up close on a farm that I lived when I was in my teens. They can be a bit um, they can be a bit obnoxious. They're loving creatures as well, but they're not quite as good natured as a cow. I'm also very fond of ducks, more so than geese. Geese, protecting the young, very aggressive, um, as they should be. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame how we've bred almost every animal, including dogs. And I absolutely love dogs. I absolutely love every breed of dog. Um, but that, oh, I didn't know that about the duck eggs. Interesting. Um, like the um, pugs who suffer from breathing issues because of how we bred them. I absolutely love the dogs, bulldogs, pugs. I love every single dog, every single breed, but I don't think we should be breeding them for the sake of an appearance, for the sake of um, what they bring to us. It's enough that dogs bring to us unconditional love. We don't need to add anything to that. So let dogs alone as far as specific breeding. Same with cats. Do we need a hairless cat? I wouldn't. If a hairless cat was in a shelter and needed a home, I would take it home in a second, and I would love it as much as my two rescue cats that I have now. But we don't need to take our personal vanities and apply them to animals or apply them to our children or our friends or whatever. Um, I think I'm blessed with the friends that I have because obviously they are not applying those standards to me. They are not saying, unless, if you're saying that I'm uh, of the same as a hairless cat. Um, I bet they would. I'd never petted a hairless cat. Um, but again, all animals across the board, all of them are sacred, all of them are life. Um, I would welcome any pet into my home, take care of them. Um, yeah, I guess hairless cats are um, maybe, at one point they were that way for a specific, their own specific person, purpose. I don't know. I don't know the history of hairless cats. Um, I do know it just seems that we've reached the point again that our own personal vanities have made a mess of the world, and it's time to take a step back and start thinking, so how do we heal? How do we heal the world? How do we heal the animals that are within it, that are suffering, because of the effects of what we think we need? We don't need, I know, yeah, I can understand breeding something for, those reasons. However, um, if you're allergic to cats, you're allergic to cats. Um, just we can call that the law of nature. Um, Either be okay with sniffling and sneezing, or don't have a cat, or look at cat videos on YouTube I think YouTube was invented um, for that specific reason. For those who are allergic to cats, they get the full benefit of cat joy without the sniffing and the sneezing and the whatever. Um, the point, though, nothing should have to suffer for our own sense of reasoning, our own sense of purpose, our own. We can eat fine without torturing animals. We can love a dog just as much without breeding them for a certain appearance. Um, Now, having said that, there are certain jobs that dogs are very good at, specific dogs are very good at. That's a different case. I don't have the answers for things like that. I don't want to pretend like I have answers for things like that. I just don't know. I don't like seeing animals suffer in any way. I don't like seeing people suffer in any way, or the planet, or plants, or anything. I have a tree outside of my house that was pruned near to death um, because neighbors complained that they were afraid branches might fall. They hadn't fallen for 40 plus years of me living in this house. But they might fall and it might hit their very expensive cars. Um, the tree is a shell of its former self. It shaded my house, it shaded my yard, it shaded my cars. I was never afraid of a branch falling. If a branch fell, that's the price I pay for parking my car under a tree. Um, I just think that if we think enough, not with our brain, but with the heart, maybe I should say, if we feel enough, that we will feel our way out of the present situation that we're in. We will heal each other politically. All the lines drawn that we have right now could be fixed by what Derek and I were mentioning earlier, the simple acknowledgement, the namaste of I see you. I see you suffering. I see you struggling through life, and I share that with you. It's a hard road sometimes for all of us. We all want to experience the deep joy of being alive. How can we get there? Because we can only get there together. If I won't make it across the finish line without your help, you're not going to make it without my help. Um, and the truth, the secret, there's no finish line. This is just here. This is our starting point. This is the ending point. There is just this moment. We're in this moment together. I always come back, probably every single talk. Mahesh, no. I say it every time, and now I'm drawing a blank. He was asked, how do you treat others? And his reply was a very simple, heartfelt, there are no others. Rama Maharishi. I'm still drawing a blank. And, you know, that's really sort of the essence of judo. I forget who it was, which high-ranking judoka said, the essence of judo is in the bow. What a beautiful saying for a very beautiful art. And when you see judo done, jiu-jitsu done, aikido done, when you see Wing Chun done, in essence, it's just a beautiful expression, not a violence, although, as with every aspect of beingness, violence is contained within it, but it's not the violence of seeking to harm someone. It's more that sometimes the motion of life hurts. Sometimes there's the essence of that motion is to defend, protect, service. It's really that essence of judo is in the bow. It's just a beautiful saying of what it is, and more than just judo. You know, we could say, you know, the essence of prayer is in the bow. Bowing down and say thank you. The essence of the the grace of what we're receiving for our meal is in bowing our heads in gratitude. Um, the saying was, how do we treat others? And his reply was simply, there are no others. How's that for a um, political ad? What if a presidential candidate said, truly, there are no others? There isn't, I know Obama had said, and again, I'm not going to get overly political here, there are no red states, there are no blue states. But how about if that was even deeper? Um, the way that Course in Miracles came to me was a lot of infighting in a medical facility, school of it was two psychiatrists out of university. And there was a lot of bickering and infighting within the teaching establishment. And they were fed up, and one teacher turned to the other and said, there has to be a better way. And out of the blue, the teacher said, there is, and I'll help you find it. So how's that for a political ad? Simply someone saying there has to be a better way. Let's find it together. There has to be a better way politically. There has to be a better way dietary-wise. There has to be a better way of caring for our planet. Not political at all. It's just the way things are. All right, guys. Almost an hour's worth of talking. I appreciate both you guys and anyone who might have dropped in just to watch. You actually opened up this conversation in a really deep and meaningful way that was unexpected to me, when what I started was very, very briefly talking about diet and training, and it just went in a surprising direction that, again, actually fills me with a lot of joy and gratitude that it did, and that we got to spend this time together and share a few moments. It helps expressing it to like-minded people. It helps expressing it to people who aren't of like mind but are willing to listen. I hope that I can extend that to others. Know that if you come here and you want to have a conversation, thanks for stopping in, baby. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I know it's a little later there for you, earlier for Derek. It's really fascinating to see how that all came together. California, East Coast, all the way to Britain. Pretty cool. So anyway, thank you. Whenever I'm talking, anyone who pops in, no matter the opinion, everyone's welcome. And it's all about dialogue. It's all about opening up and talking. Thanks, guys. Take care. I think it's still in the morning there, Barefoot Burpees, I think. Oh, is it that? Is it later? So not too much. I'm going on 2 o'clock here. So not that much of a difference, I guess. You guys take care. I'll be back tomorrow. Morning burpees and some talking again in the afternoon. Take care.